gearing up to go live, but I'm not sure. Okay, it says I'm live now. So hello, everybody, and welcome to this live stream. My name is Kristen Brown. I'm a self-love mastery and relationship healing author, coach, and speaker. And I'm here today to talk to you guys about the power and importance of self-trust. If you ask people, the majority of people are going to say something like they don't trust anybody or they trust very few people. And this is completely understandable because before we know any better, we're going through life and we're blindly trusting people to have our backs and to be the level of integrity and loyalty and kindness and gentleness, all the things that we are, we project that onto other people and we expect them to be the same back to us. Yet, it doesn't happen. And over time, we get hit and we get knocked and we get punched and we get cut and we get wounded over and over again at the hands, the words, and the behaviors of other people. And we're blindsided. It's like something came out of nowhere and just blows our mind that somebody could actually do this thing to us. And the ego wants us to play small. The ego wants to protect us. So it's always saying, oh, don't trust that person. Don't trust them or don't trust yourself. The ego is cunning and it wants to keep us very small. It wants to keep our world very constricted. But the problem with that is that we hurt our relationships, we hurt ourselves, and we're not in flow with the energy of the universe when we don't trust. Because what is the word faith built in? Trust. It's about trusting the unknown. And that's a very scary place for human beings because we're part spirit, but we're also part body. We're part mind, we're part thinker, we're part experience, we're part ego. We've got these two polarities that are playing around inside of our noggins, and it can get us to a place where we're very confused, where we don't trust people, and where we may not even trust ourselves. I've heard many people say to me, but I just don't trust myself. I don't trust myself to make a good decision this time around. And if that sounds like you or any of this preface that I'm saying in this live stream right now sounds like you, then this is the live stream and the video for you. So I hope you grab a beverage, pull up a chair, maybe take some notes, and really start to sink into this. My goal, my inspired mission in life is to help people heal their inner worlds. Because I know when we heal our inner worlds, that our outer world will naturally and organically shift with it. It can't not, because anything that we have going on in here is going to be reflected back to us from the outside world. So if we don't trust ourselves, guess what happens? Things will happen in our outside world to reflect that back to us, or will reflect it back to us through people not being trustworthy with us. So all of those feelings are very disempowered. They're very scary. They're very constricting, and they make us feel like we don't want to move forward in life. They make us scared to take any step that we haven't done all of our math about, that we haven't, or as in England, they call it maths with an S on the end, which I just love. We haven't done all the analysis. We haven't compared. We haven't done the spreadsheets. We haven't done the comparison and contrast or make the pro and con list or whatever it is that we think we need to do in order to take a next best step because we don't trust ourselves. So I'm hoping by the end of this live stream today that you guys are really motivated to start trusting yourself and to start moving more towards that place. Because we think it's the people on the outside world that we need to trust. We think it's those people that are doing things to us that is the problem. But the problem is that we're not trusting this. We're not trusting our insides. Because we are spirit, you guys. We are deity individuated. We are divine sparks of God, of universal intelligence. And many times we know things before those things happen, yet we don't trust the self inside. Instead, we, for various reasons that I talk about all over this channel, for various reasons, we stay with those things or we try to bypass the information that we're getting. We kind of ignore these little nudges and these little pebbles that are being thrown at us for one reason or another. Maybe we think that this person is going to give us the love that we're craving or the approval or the acceptance. Or maybe we think, well, it's this person I have to be friends with because this will up-leveling me in life for whatever reason. We start to distrust the feelings that we have inside because our brain starts to play tricks on us and wants to convince us into believing that this particular person or scenario or workplace or whatever it might be is going to be our ticket to better. There is nothing that we can, well, let me put it this way. Many times we try to how our way through life. We try to muscle our way through life. We try to think that if there's a certain somebody, person, thing, place, special words, the way we look, something about us or something about somebody else that is going to up-level us in life. And we're forgetting about the very thing that we came here with, which is our divine guidance. It's our guidance that is going to guide us to the next best step or the next best person in our life. But being that we didn't trust ourselves when we were young and these things happened to us, or maybe these things happened later in life. Maybe the distrust came in your 20s or even your 30s or later because of repeated experiences that have happened. But somewhere along the way, there was something inside of you that said, don't do that, or don't talk to that person, or don't go to that place. And you ignored it. And I've ignored it. We've both ignored these type of things many, many times in our life. So we constrict, we play small, we go inside, we hide. Sometimes we're even afraid to have friends anymore. And if this is your experience, that's okay. You're allowed to have your experience because this is your personal journey on this path. And I will never be here ever to judge somebody or to tell you what you're feeling is wrong because this is your spiritual journey. And you came here to learn specific lessons for yourself. But sometimes there are things called capital T truths. And those are things that are unchangeable. They're universal wisdom and universal knowledge. And one of those ideas, one of those principles is that it's ourself that we need to learn to trust, not the people in our outward environment. When we learn to trust ourselves, we become very adept at what I call smelling things right away. Now, that doesn't mean it necessarily comes through our olfactory sinuses. It means that we'll start to pick up cues from the outside environment and we'll be more quiet inside of self. And those little pebble throws, those little nudges, those little pushes, that quiet, still small voice inside is going to speak to you and to me. And we will listen this time. So I wanted to I actually made a list of 5 things we can do to really empower ourselves and start to regain that personal trust. Because I know you've been through the ringer. I know a lot of people have hurt you. I know that your trust is broken for a legit reason because there's a lot of crap that happens out in the world. There's a lot of hurt people that are hurting people. There's a lot of wounded people who are wounding people. Yet, the best defense that we can ever form against this is to learn to trust ourselves wholly and completely. And that's what the spiritual journey is all about. When we first come here, we're very fractured out in the world and we think we have to please all these people out here and we have to shift and morph and chameleon and become these things that we're not in order to get our needs met, to get our wants met, or to be seen or to be heard. When the truth is that it's that we stepped away from that self, that authentic self, that light inside, that truth inside, because we are all source energy. We have that truth built into the architecture of who we are, but we've stepped away from that inside of ourselves. And that's the journey, is to return back to that. So this might seem like a very superficial kind of conversation. Oh, learn to trust yourself. But really, it's the ultimate and only conversation because that's when we're really truly connecting with our divinity. We're connecting with universal intelligence. We're connecting with God. We're connecting to the energy of love. And all of that space is where capital T truth resides. So the more that we can connect with that, the more that we learn to trust ourselves, frankly, the easier life becomes. Because we don't keep getting hit and knocked and smashed and hit and knocked over. You know, I kind of think about, you guys know that show, the movie, The Night at the Roxbury? It's a great movie. If you guys haven't seen it, it's hysterical. It's really a Saturday Night Live kind of humor. If you're from the States, you know what I'm talking about. unless that's syndicated overseas and stuff now, Saturday Night Live. But there's a girl that like meets it's Sherry O'Terry, and she meets Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan, which are they're brothers, they're twin brothers, and she's meets them at this bar, and they're like she's dancing with them, and they're just knocking her back and forth, like with their chest bumping her, and she's just like being knocked back and forth between them, and that's what many of us feel like in life. That we go over here and we think we can trust, and then that knocks us, and we go over here and think we can trust, and that knocks us, and we go over, and then we're just getting like this, what my husband calls whipsawed back and forth through life. And it doesn't have to be that way. I've been there. There's nothing that I ever speak about on this platform is something that I have not experienced myself. It's not something that I have not gone through because I couldn't speak at the level of language and authenticity and flow that I do because I can't make this stuff up. This stuff is coming from experiences healed. Yes, I make notes, but look how little the notes are. The notes are just to remind me of things because this is a live broadcast and I want to make it flowy and easy to listen to. So returning back to that self is the ultimate power that we could ever have because that's where truth resides. That's where our instincts and intuition is. That's where we are being guided from a power that's greater than us. Remember, we're just little fractured units of this power. And now we're in this body. And we got this mind that wants to play tricks on us and wants to scare us and wants to freak us out so we don't make any moves in any different directions. Plus, many of us have had so much trauma and drama and all kinds of things that happen into our life that by the time we reach a certain age, we're pretty freaking tired. We're like, oh my God, more? And the thought of just collapsing on the couch every night and not making phone calls and not meeting friends and not trying things new and not starting to write that book and to not start that YouTube channel or that podcast or that blog or that Pilates class or the salsa class or learning to hike with buddies or doing whatever it might be might feel so much better to just plop down on the couch because we're safe or we think we are. And that's our free will and we get to make that choice. That's our absolute free will that we can do that. Yet, what a small and disempowered life we're going to lead if we do that. So, right now, that choice is yours. And nothing I'm saying here ever is I'm telling you what to do. I would never be so bold as to know where you're at in your journey or what you need to do. Because sometimes the cocooning time, that time of really going inward towards yourself, is very serving. And if that's in a space that you're in, only you can know that. And that's part of trusting yourself. But if you're in that space and you're feeling kind of this little nudge to do something different, but you're not, and you're like, no, this just feels good, and you talk yourself out of it, that might be an issue in your life because you are getting that feeling like I needed to cocoon, right? I needed this time. But now I'm kind of feeling that urge to do something else. And maybe I've become lazy. Maybe I've become unmotivated. Maybe it's just easier just to lay on my couch. These are the things that we need to ask ourselves. And this is honest self inquiry, which is a great segue into the first point that I want to make. First of all, I'm going to double check to make sure that I am focused. Do I look focused to you guys? I do to me, but the screen's really big right now for some reason. Usually it's a little screen in the middle. I guess I could minimize this. I look focused to me. So if I'm focused to you guys, if someone would give me a thumbs up or something in the chat, that would be awesome. Also, I see that I have a few people in this room. People come and go because these are live streams and we always don't have the time to hang out on these things. But if you guys would love to, I put a little note here to welcome everybody and to please say hello and share where you're at in the world. Or if you're some of my homies that jump on here and join me regularly, then I would love to see that you are here. If you're new, that would be cool too. All right. So the first thing that I want to mention to you guys is to know yourself well. If you've listened to any of my podcasts, like my podcast, not the recorded video ones that I put here on YouTube, but my actual podcast, if you've listened to that, you're going to find many, many times throughout that podcast that I say awareness is key. I say it all the time. Awareness is key. That's because we cannot shift anything inside of us that we are unaware of. Many times we're walking through life, sleeping. We're sleepwalking through life. Or we've got the blinders on. And all we know is that we're going to get up like an automaton and we're going to roll out of bed, brush our teeth, make our coffee, drive to work, do our work, come home, eat dinner, lay on the couch. We're functioning through life in just such this automatic way that we're not taking the time to really get to know who we are. We're not doing that honest self-inquiry, which will just skyrocket you into the next level of development, of attracting and creating the life of your dreams. Because we can all have everything we want, you guys. This is not specific to me or the other person that has 8 million followers or anything. We all have the capacity to experience anything we want in this life. Many times we think we don't. Oh, little old me that was raised on a farm, I'm making this up. Or little old me that was raised on the wrong side of the tracks in the poor neighborhood, or little old me that didn't do well in school. Dr. John Demartini, who's a worldwide teacher right now, just love this man. He couldn't read. He didn't read until he was 19 years old, 18 or 19, don't quote me. He dropped out of school, grabbed a surfboard, and went to the interstate as his parents waved goodbye, and he hitchhiked to California, which later it landed him in Hawaii, and then his whole story broke open. This was a man that couldn't learn to read. I think he later was diagnosed with dyslexia or something like that. I don't remember. I'm not sure if that was really common back in that day. Don't quote me. I'm not sure of his story. I read his book a long time ago. At any rate, we can all have everything we want, but we got to become self-aware first. This is how we grow. And I could get into all my story and about how I became self-aware about certain things that I talk about in so many of my lives. So I won't do that in this one because it's everywhere. And I don't want to repeat if people that are in here have already listened to that. But you can jump on the playlist section of my YouTube channel where I give my lives and I put them under inspirational talks. Most of those are recorded live because it's like I see YouTube as my stage, as I'm standing on a stage in front of a bunch of people and I'm giving a live speech to somebody. So you can watch those on there. They're really fun. They're really good to listen to and they just flow. I have a light outline that I give on these talks, but I don't follow them because I let spirit flow through me. And that's part of trusting myself and trusting God. I know that God's going to show up with me when I give these talks, and I don't know what they're going to turn into. But I know that I can jack myself up if I say stuff in my head like, very limiting and small beliefs and not trust myself like, oh, you might screw up. You might say the wrong thing. You might say a cuss word. I don't think cussing is a wrong thing, but you get what I'm saying. Apparently to be monetized, you don't want to have a lot of cuss words on your channel. So anyway, you might get stuck. You might do what I just did where I had to think for a minute. I could jack myself up with all those feelings of perfection that I'm supposed to be something in order to get people to listen to me, but I don't. Because I trust my experience, I trust my wisdom, I trust my practice that I've had over all these years of delivering content, and I trust God. I trust God to be with me in this moment. In fact, I always say a little prayer before I get on live for the most part, if I remember. And I said, God, be with me in this moment so I can deliver some information to somebody who needs to hear it. So part of that is becoming self-aware. We have to know who we are. We have to know what matters to us. We need to know our likes and dislikes. We need to get connected with our beliefs and our values. There's things that we value in this world. There's things that are important to us in this world. And if we don't really pull those in close and hug those up close to us and say, this is what's important to me, then we might be whipsawed around and we might fall for anything that comes our way because we have not firmly rooted ourselves in what's important to us. Knowing our values, I will say oh, Andrea, sunny Seattle today. That's good news. Wow, how fun. I love Seattle. I'll probably tell you that every single time you get on here. I just love Seattle. Okay. So one of my highest values is the well-being, health and well-being of my children. And a lot of people say that, but I'm talking that's my Mac Daddy priority and has been since I had them. And it still is, but now two have moved out and, they're grown up, 27, 28, and my 17-year-old is still with me. But they're still, I'm still in touch with them from afar. They know to call me. They know they can talk to me at any time. And they're still my priority. Yet they have their own lives now. So they're not as much so as they were when they were little. But there's so much my priority that if anything tried to come in that went up against that priority, I knew right away because I had really owned and sunk into the fact that they are my priority. So it's these type of values, like knowing that you want to be treated like a king or a queen. And I don't say that in any sort of, kind of way. I'm saying it like you want to be treated like the valuable person that you are. When you put yourself in that value position where you're like, I'm valuable, and one of my values is kindness and respect and honor, even if the person ends up breaking it up with you, right? People can break up with us. That's not the point. But if they're treating us respectfully and with kindness, if that is your value, let me tell you something. When some narcissistic a-hole comes in or some selfish yahoo comes into your life and you put that as your value, guess what? That's not going to click. And this is why I said in the beginning that it's not other people that you need to learn to trust, it's you. Are you willing to stand up for yourself? Are you willing to say, hey, that's not okay. That's not cool. I don't like that. Just so you know, that doesn't work in my world. I knew when I started dating again after my tsunami that I was not going to date someone that drank a lot. I was over it. I didn't mind someone that wanted to have maybe occasional beer here and there or something like that. But I was not going to sit with someone that is just drinking themselves into a frenzy every evening or 5 times a week or got to the place that they were out of control or whatever. I wasn't going to do with that. That became a huge value for me. I was like, nope, not dealing with that type of stuff. And so, guess what? When I moved forward in life, and people came into my experience. The first guy I dated after my tsunami that I was with for 5 weeks. If Andrea, if you're still in here, I'm not sure who's still in here. It doesn't show me, but you'll know that story. I watched his drinking because he drank every time we went out, but he only had like 2 beers. And I was like, okay, that's all right. I was paying close attention because this had become my value. So I had to know my likes and dislikes so that I could know what exactly is going to work for me is not what is not going to work for me. I don't like people who let me think of some things. I'm trying to pull something out of thin air here. I'll just move on because I can never think of stuff. You guys know that. It's also about getting in touch with your emotions and the way you feel. Andrea sounds like my ex-boyfriend. Oh, girlfriend. Yeah, the way we feel. We have to know who we are. We have to know what we're feeling. Our emotions are our guidance system. I go into this a lot in my book because this is about, again, like I said, we're returning back to ourselves. We've fractured out so much, but we need to return back to ourselves. And part of the ways that we do this is really getting in touch with our emotions and the way certain things make us feel. Very interesting, you guys. Last night I watched a thriller. I love thrillers. But some thrillers, movies, some thrillers can leave me feeling a little funky afterwards. Some don't, right? But the one last night kind of gave me that feeling of like, I didn't really like that. That's all the feeling I was feels like, meh, I kind of don't really like that. But I went to bed on that feeling and I was a little restless. So I'm recognizing inside of myself, you know, Kristen, probably not the best thing to do is watch a thriller before bed. The more that we get to know ourselves, the better we are able to express those boundaries to other people. I don't eat gluten. Gluten does not like my body does not like gluten. It doesn't blend. I'm not celiac, but I definitely have a huge sensitivity to gluten. It puffs me up. I feel like I'm 9 months pregnant. You know, it's like just all the things that happen from the gluten. So when I first started to date who's my current husband now, who just can eat anything, he's like rock gut, right? I was like, yeah, can't eat that, can't eat here, can't do this, can't do that. No, because my value is my body. My value is the way I feel. So it's not that I have to trust him to follow through for me. I got to follow through for me. This is how we build trust inside of ourselves, everyone. And when we do this, we put ourselves like literally, it's like we're dislodging ourselves from a disempowered place and putting ourselves in a whole different chair. We're putting ourselves in a throne. And again, I don't mean this in any sort of arrogant way or way that like makes us more powerful than other people, because I don't believe that. The Course in Miracles says all children of God are special and no children of God are special. That means, guess what, you guys? We are all the same. We are all equally important. So if ever I say you're putting yourself in the throne, we all belong in thrones. Not just me, not just you, not just Andrea, not whoever else is in here. Hold on, I'm going to clear my throat. I'm going to take a sip of my green tea. You guys like my new drinking cup? This is my Mother's Day gift. I said to my husband, I want that. That's my Mother's Day gift. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, it doesn't take much to please me. And I trust myself. When I say this is all I want, we ended up getting another one too that's pink. But the point is that no, he's not going to get the backlash from this later because I know me. I know I don't need a Mother's Day gift. I just don't. My kids will buy me some things because that's what they do and give me really nice cards. But I always tell them no. And they're like, are you sure? Like, that's not my husband, like, are you sure it's not going to come back and bite me later? Nope. It will never bite you later because you're actually doing what I prefer. This is what I want. Don't try to pick something out for me that I'm not going to like. And because I trust me, he gets to trust me. He gets to believe what I'm saying. So the first thing is to know yourself well. Self awareness is key. It will always be key. Know what makes you tick, know how you feel, know what you need. When you know these things about yourself and you're willing to step up and show up and speak up about those things, that is where trust starts to form with your, not even starts, it solidifies with ourselves because we know we're not going to put ourselves through a whole bunch of tomfoolery. So recently, you guys know I'm live on the Wisdom app, one of the top mentors over there. And some of the wisdom buddies got together in Georgia. Like one was traveling through, and several of our wisdom cohorts are in there. So he planned this thing where they all got together and met. And they were together for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Like it went late into the night. And I was thinking to myself, well, if I was there, well, there's a time change. I later thought of that. There's a time change. So yeah, I would actually be okay over there because it was 7 o'clock here, it'd be 10 o'clock there. So I might have lasted. But I didn't think of that at first. I was like, wow, they went late into the light. I'm like, or into the night. After a couple of hours, I'd probably be done. Probably my social energy would be drained. I'd want to get in bed. I'd want to do my thing. And I'm like, here they are just like yahooing it up. And this isn't partying. I mean, they went to Waffle House after they ate dinner. This is not like they were, hooping it up with a bunch of partying. It was just they were hanging. But I thought, I wonder how long I would have lasted in that. And I mean, love them all just so dearly. And I might have been fine. But I know me. And I know that I would have had to been willing to say, you guys, I'm done. I got to go to bed and then put myself to bed. I got to trust myself to take care of me. All right, I'm going to move into the next one, which is practice self-compassion and forgiveness. Who knew? So many times we're like, okay, now we all know that this is self-love, practicing self-compassion and self-forgiveness. This is part of my 5 self-love tenets that you are going to read all about when you get my book, The Recovering People Pleaser, a spiritual guide to reclaiming your true worth and attract the love you deserve. The reason why I moved it is because I messed with my lighting. Actually, you guys, should I have more lighting? Is that better? Kind of washes me out, but let's do that. Gives me a little bit more lighting. Okay, to practice self-compassion and self-forgiveness, if we are beating ourselves up all the time, we're not going to trust ourselves. Would you trust somebody who's beating you up all the time? You wouldn't. Think about it. If, the cat I got, my cat, my black cat Beans, she's not here. She showed up in the most latest video that I just posted. Today, I actually posted it today, but Beans is in that picture and she's sitting over here on this chair. And Beans came to us she was found in an apartment. This might be a trigger warning, so I'm just going to tell anybody who's sensitive about animal topics, you might want to click out and come back in about 10 seconds. Beans was found in an apartment abandoned. There was no one in the apartment. She was left in there with no food or water, and she was very close to crossing the Rainbow Bridge when somebody found her. So she didn't trust people, and I don't know what else happened with Beans. She came with the name Jillian, but she's black, so I called her Black Beans, and then it just turned into Beans. Now she's Beanies. Now she's my name, Venus. Her name's changed. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see pictures of my animals. I post them occasionally. But Beans, the first thing she did when she came in this house, she ran and hid behind the washer and dryer. She stayed there. She wasn't there in the morning when we got up, but she was up on the very top of our cabinets. We had like a plant shelf and she was up. We looked everywhere and couldn't find Beans. And there she was on the tip. We're like, oh my gosh, she's way up there. She was surveying the landscape, trying to decide whether she could trust us or not. But over time, well, the cat I had before her was Lily. And when I lay on my side on the couch, Lily used to lay, right next to my belly. And I missed that when we lost Lily. And I said, I hope at some point this next cat we do will do this. Well, over time, Beans began to trust us. She began because we consistently showed kindness, gentleness, compassion. She was fed, she was watered, her cat box was clean. We didn't do anything that was startling to her, nor did I let people do anything that was startling to her because I was cultivating trust with this little sweet baby. Now Beans is like sleeping on me when at night. And this is recent. We've had her for 4 years. Now she's sleeping on top of me and she's like, doing this to me in the middle of the night because she wants to be pet. She sticks out her little claws and she kind of grabs my hair. And, Beans is doing stuff like this to me now because I have shown her over time. We have, the whole family has shown her all this kindness and compassion and love. So think about this, what it took for Beans to trust us. It took consistency of kindness, compassion, and love. And that's why the second tip is to practice self compassion and self forgiveness. You are retraining yourself that you can trust you because you're going to be gentle with you. If you beat yourself up all the time, you're hurting yourself. Okay. You're teaching yourself that you can't trust yourself. Think about it in the respect of, let's say you had a parent, not you, maybe somebody else, a person. Let's say a person has a parent that was, consistently yelling at them or screaming at them or calling them names or even hurting them in some capacity. You wouldn't trust that person whatsoever, right? You couldn't trust that person. Well, if we're doing the same thing to ourselves, we can't trust ourselves. So the second tip is to practice compassion and self-forgiveness. Stop beating yourself up for tiny mistakes that you made, even big mistakes that you made. Someone recently, I forgot who it was, but it was one of my coaching clients, had done something that they were really, really ashamed of. And we worked through the forgiveness piece on this. And this person, like their energy, like literally before my eyes, just went like the light, the stature, they blossomed like right before I'm like, oh my God, right before my eyes. This is what self forgiveness and self compassion does for us. The key is to be consistent with us or with it. If we ignore it and we just do it sometimes, kind of dip our foot in the pool, but pull the foot back out of the pool and we're not really consistent with us, then we're not teaching ourselves over time. That's like if with Beans, if I was nice to her sometimes and then, knocked her off the counter, she got on the counter, she's going to get these mixed messages from me. So if ever she was on the counter, I just went and tapped her little booty, her little black fluffy booty, and I'd say, "Oh, I hope I'm not doing that to the microphone." And I would say, I'm like, "Get down, get down." I was very gentle with her because I wanted her to know. And still, 4 years with us, if something happens, she's like, she's very skitsy about certain things. She's very loving to us. She never claws us. She never attacks us. Um, but she's very, she's really jumpy about things. So I'm not sure the environment she came from, but I know it was scary to her. So treat yourself with kindness and compassion. Guess what, bro? You're fallible. I'm fallible. And we're going to continue to be fallible. The word perfection doesn't even exist. In fact, curious side note, perfection only exists in the mind of the person who's trying to be the perfectionist because it's your idea of perfection, not somebody else's idea of perfection, because everybody's idea of perfection varies. What's perfect for me is going to be maybe not perfect for Andrea or whoever else is listening in this room. Okay. So the idea of perfection is self imposed. So if you're trying to be perfect, you're going to be beating yourself up when you're imperfect. So how about you just own the fact that you're fallible and imperfect? I remember owning that. I remember being somewhat of a perfectionist. I mean, I'm not a perfectionist to the point of like OCD or that I beat myself up. I just know I like to do things to a quality level. Whatever that thing might be, I try to do it to the best of my ability. And I have so much self compassion and forgiveness for me if I don't reach that level of criteria because I know I'm imperfect. I remember learning that piece of wisdom at some point in my journey. We're imperfect. We're perfectly imperfect. We're infallible being, or we're fallible human beings, all the things that we hear all the time. And I remember going, oh, wow. I was so excited because this meant that this level of perfection that I thought I had to hold myself up to wasn't even real. We can only please some of the people some of the time. We can never please all of the people all of the time. Even my family, my closest personal people that I love so much and love me so much, and that's why we got this family tattoo, follow you, follow me, because we're bonded. We're a great family unit. And guess what? I can't please them all the time. I piss them off. I make them mad. They make me mad. We're a family. I can't please them all the time. But if I, for the majority of the time, we're all fairly happy with each other, that's a win. So if you think you need to be a perfectionist and you need to do these things expertly hey, if I had to do that, I wouldn't be on this talk right now. If I had to do that, I wouldn't have these hairs that sometimes I watch my videos afterwards and I got this, like, I think my last video, I got one piece of hair that's like this. And I'm watching it in in the replay of my video when I'm editing it. And I'm like, that's freaking hysterical. And I love it because it's authentic. Because I didn't get on the camera and start going, I didn't do that. I just got on and whipped out a video because I'm allowing myself to be imperfect, at least to my standards of imperfect. So practicing self-love and self-compassion and self-forgiveness over and repeatedly in your life, you're going to provide this really safe space for you, this really gentle space for you that you're going to trust. You're going to trust being in your own care. How miraculous is that? All right, the next one is to follow through on your plans. Now, sometimes plans don't follow through, right? We don't get to do the thing that we wanted to do. And there's that saying, right? The best laid plans, which means, yeah, that we had this all planned out to the minute and it didn't go that way, right? So we made a bunch of plans to go to Seattle. I think I told Andrea this. I'm not sure if it was last summer or the summer before. They had a heat wave. In Seattle, a lot of places in Seattle don't have AC, a lot of the businesses, air conditioning. Well, I'm from Arizona. So we were trying to escape Arizona and we're like, where can we go? Where is it rainy? Where is it going to be a little chilly or at least in the 70s? And we're like, yeah, Seattle. Woo. And this cheer went up. And we all decided we're going to Seattle. We get there and it's 10 degrees, humid, and no one's got AC. And we're walking through Seattle, up and down these hills. And we were told to go to this one particular restaurant for some dessert. I forgot what it was. And we're huffing up this hill. And it's not a huge hill, but it was a hill. And we're sweating buckets and it's hot. And we get it, and the place is closed. And they don't have AC anyway. And a lot of the places were closed. But guess what? So what? Best laid plans. Yes, heart that I'm so happy now that I started being my authentic self. Isn't that the best, girl? I think there's a delay on people's messages. So that just came in. So just keep in mind if I don't approach it right away, I don't see the thing popping up out of the corner of my eye. So anyway, it was the best laid plans, right? And they didn't work, but that's okay. Doesn't mean the trip was a disaster. My husband and I had an absolutely fantastic time on this trip. It was hot. It was sweaty. We didn't escape the Arizona heat, but it was beautiful. It was a change of scenery. And we went to Bainbridge. I'm not may not be getting that right. Bainbridge, which is like, all these little cool islands and stuff. We don't have that in Arizona, but we had a great time anyway. Well, the same thing is true with us. All right. So if you make plans, you're going to know, or I'm sorry, if you follow through on your plans, start with the small plans. I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and it doesn't have to be these things. I'm going to start doing my laundry every Saturday morning before I go do anything else, or at least throw a load in. I am going to walk every morning while it's cool out. That's one of mine. Every single morning, first thing in the morning. And my husband, who sometimes wanted to have a different idea of what we should do in the morning, I was like, nope, I'm walking every morning. This is important to me. This is my me time. This is my exercise time. It's beautiful out. I connect with nature. I sit in an office for the majority of the day. I like to be out there. I have to shut those blinds right here, or it puts a glare on my screen. So I have to work with my blinds shut sometimes. I want to be outside. That is my priority. But I follow through with those plans. Another plan was recently, I normally go to bed around 10 p.m. I decided I'm going to start going to bed around 9 p.m. So instead of being in bed at 10 and maybe falling asleep about 10:30 or whatever, I'm like, I'm going to be in bed at 8:30 or 9 and maybe read or do something so that I wake up earlier. because it's getting hotter here, the time change, the sun, the days are longer, all these things, and it gets hotter here. So I want to be up earlier so I can do my walks earlier instead of, I could take a walk at 11 o'clock in the middle of the day because it was 40 degrees out or 50 degrees out. That's not the case in the summer here. So you got to get pretty freaking early. And in fact, there comes a point where I won't even do it anymore. I have to go to the gym because it's too freaking hot, even at 5 a.m. Like 95 degrees. Not fun. Sun comes up just a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so you follow through with the small plans, and what you're doing is teaching yourself to trust yourself. You're trusting you. You're trusting you that you are going to have boundaries with other people and that you're going to give to yourself again, like I was saying in the first part of this, you're going to give yourself again, you're going to tend to your needs and you're going to make yourself a priority. When you make yourself a priority, there's this level of self-trust that kicks in. I'm going to do number 4 because I'm going to leave the best for last, which is my absolute favorite of all times. So I'm going to do number 4. And it's going to be called, I'm switching orders. That's why I'm telling you that, is take responsibility. Do you know what a rock star move it is to take responsibility? It is the strangest oxymoron or paradigm shift. A lot of times people don't want to take responsibility for their bads, the mistakes they make or the errors that they make or the way they may have hurt somebody else. They don't want to take responsibility because it makes them feel bad. I don't want to take responsibility for that because that means I'm bad, I'm wrong, there's something wrong with me. That's really, really unconscious. People don't want to own their shit because they're afraid of what that's going to mean if I own this thing. So they tend not to want to own it. But here's the thing, you guys. And I have so much data to back this up. I tell you guys, I'm naturally a researcher, which means I ask a lot of questions. I talk to a lot of people and I get information from people. When I hear something repeatedly over extended period of time, then I put that down in my data bank as this is an actual fact. So this one I'm going to say is a fact. When you start to own your bads, whatever they may be, quickly and promptly and without judgment, your empowerment goes up. I'm going to say that again. When you own your bads quickly and promptly, that is my bad. I take responsibility for that. Your empowerment goes up. When we don't take responsibility, there's a part of us that knows we're lying to ourselves. We're lying to the other person too. We're saying, no, I didn't do that. So like, you know what? You called me a name or we're like, and we don't own that that's bad. I'm just using this as an example. And we're like, well, you were doing this and you did that and you deserved it or something like that. You know inside that it's wrong to call someone a name when you go, you're right, my bad. That puts power back to you. You are teaching yourself that you are reliable and that you are strong. It's one of the biggest ironies that a lot of times people don't want to take responsibility because they're afraid they're going to look bad, but yet they're going to feel bad consciously or unconsciously because they don't. There's a part of them that knows the truth. There's a part of us that knows that was my bad. So not only do we become untrustworthy with self, we become untrustworthy to the people around us because they know. They wouldn't call us out on that thing if they didn't know. It's such a disempowered move not to own what we do wrong. Again, perfectly imperfect, fallible human beings. Own it. Okay? That's going to make you trust yourself. Take responsibility. Here's the other, but I've done this to Jill and Roman. I've done it to all these other people too. I got a bad habit. Ownership feels really darn good. And I know when the beginning of the Reclaiming Our Personal Power journey, we might have so much shame and unworthiness already swirling around inside of us that it's very scary to own something to someone else or if we've been exploited when we have owned something. I had a lot of people in my life just always trying to control me, always trying to tell me what is, would never take responsibility for their ish. But I was taking responsibility for mine. They'd say like, I remember my first husband saying, well, you're PMSing. You're doing that because you're PMS. No. Let me back up. I said one time in a conversation, I said, "I'm sorry, I'm very irritable, I'm PMSing." Okay, I had really bad PMS back in the 20s. Just get really, really, really irritable and snappy. Everything after that, he tried to blame on my PMS. So I could be having the most chillest Buddha day, and bro does something not okay, and I call him out on it, and he's like, "You're just PMSing." So if we've had this over and over and over again in our life, or we have been exploited, or we own something and we say, yes, that is my bad. And then people want to blow that thing up to make you really bad, or to really shame you, or to really guilt you about that thing. There's a part of us that's going to be like, I don't want to own anything anymore. I don't want to own anything. That happened to me. I didn't want to outwardly own anything to certain people because they were going to blow it up and use it against me. I was coming to the table honest and saying, that's my piece of the equation. But then they blew it up and made it all about me, and they would never take responsibility for their piece of the equation. So there was no healing that was happening by me taking responsibility. But here's what, you guys, I took it inside. I took responsibility inside, because I knew it would be used against me with this person, not with all people, but with particular people. I knew it would be used against me. So I took responsibility inside, because I didn't want to stop growing and healing and become the best version of myself I can be, just because jackass over here is doing this low vibe, unhealthy behavior. I still wanted to grow. So if you are in any of these positions where you have a lot of shame and unworthiness as it is, or you have been very highly guilted and treated poorly when you did own your stuff by some type of toxic or unhealthy person, own it inside yourself. That's all it takes. And then you apply the self-compassion and self-forgiveness. There's a thing in A Course in Miracles called quantum forgiveness. What this means is that there's like this automatic energy when we forgive ourselves. When we do something bad, it's like an automatic kind of built-in forgiveness. When I first learned about that, I was like, I want to feel that way. I have learned quantum forgiveness now, which means, like, let's say someone does something crappy to me. It's, for the most part, I'm just going to say for the most part, with just the players that are in, close proximity of my life, someone does something that's kind of poopy. There's just this quantum forgiveness. I forgive them before they've even owned their stuff. So there's that, but there's also quantum forgiveness for self. When I make a mistake or I do something, I'm like, okay, inside, I'm like, yeah, it was my bad. And I automatically apply that to myself, because I am fallible. I am human. So by taking that radical responsibility, you're literally taking all those fractured pieces of yourself and you're putting them back inside and reconfiguring them, and you're standing taller and you're gaining your personal power by applying those self-love principles to yourself. And that is why it is so important to take responsibility. And the last and final thing that is my favorite is, drum roll, intuition. What is the one thing that we really need to trust the most is intuition. I started to touch on this briefly up there in the first one, which was knowing yourself well, becoming very clear about who you are. I think I'm fuzzy again. I'm going to dip out of the camera and come back because I look fuzzy. Hold on. This usually clears it up. Okay. Oh, yep, that cleared it. Yep, I think that cleared it up. Okay, now I don't know. Anyway, it's hard to tell when the screen's this big. So intuition is trusting that still small voice within, that voice within you that knows the truth, that voice within you that reads energy, that voice within you that gives you your next best step, that voice within you that is warning you of impending danger or giving you a heads up to a situation that is about to come. Okay, that's our intuition. I talk a lot about intuition on this channel. In fact, I gave a whole live on intuition. So you guys can find that by going into my playlist and clicking on, I think it's called inspirational video. What's it called? Inspirational talks or inspiration talks, something like that. If you click on that and you go through there, there's not a whole lot. They're my lives, but I give a whole big old talk about intuition. It's one of my absolute all-time favorite topics. I could teach this topic. I know a lot about it, and have really crafted my intuition to a place where I trust it implicitly. And that's that is the coup de grace of really trusting yourself, is trusting that connection you have with universal intelligence, with the essence and energy of loving, the essence and energy of love, right? There is this energy in the universe that is infinite, and it holds infinite possibilities. It knows all the things at all the times, and we can access that at any time. But many times in life, we're thrown these little, I call it being thrown a pebble. You're going to get thrown these pebbles where you're going to get like the little heads up about this is not okay, this is wrong, whatever it might be. And then we'll get a little bit bigger of a rock, a little bit bigger of one, till pretty much this huge boulder comes and pummels into you, not literally, figuratively, and pummels into you where you're like, I can't ignore this anymore. I can't ignore this anymore. I'm in so much pain. I'm suffering so much. And 99% of the time, we're going to go, I knew it. I knew better. I knew it. If you go back to that moment of time where you said, about that thing, go back to the way that felt in your body. Go back to the way it was delivered to you. Was it a clear knowing? Was it a clear seeing? Did you have a vision? Was it a clear hearing? Did you hear something in your mind or outwardly? Did you smell something? Sometimes there's this clear smelling now, which is a thing I've learned recently. When I did my podcast episode with Miranda May, she put words to that because I will smell things from deceased loved ones. And she said, oh, that's called clair olfactory or something like that. Anyway, I digress. Or is it a clear sense? Like you have a feeling inside of you where you just know, you know, you know. Okay. These are the way the spirit, universe, God, source, the I am, whatever you call it, communicates with us. And it is all the time. We are always connected in. I explain it to people like this. If you look at, I've got a couple of plants on my countertop. The plant first comes and I put it in the thing. And then it starts to grow these really long arms on it, or legs, or whatever you want to call it. And they can go 50 feet. I forgot the name of the plant. If someone is in here that knows the name of philodendron, I'm not sure what it's called. But those things will go on and on and on and on and on. That's kind of like us. Here's, the plant is God, and we're these pieces of God. We're still connected. We have never disconnected from God, ever. We're still connected. So we have this stream. And it's not even we have to connect where there's a joint. Like you connect, plug into the wall to get electricity. We're always connected. And we're connected before we come here. We're still connected. And then we're connected when we leave. We're always connected. So it's just tapping into that and really learn to cultivate and listen to and understand that. Many times in life, I have been warned of impending danger. I've been warned, like given kind of a heads up of situations to come. I have been told I can read energy, not have been told, scratch that part. I can read energy on other people about what they're thinking or feeling about certain things. And I nail it 100% of the time, because when it's an intuition, it's always right. And I can get these informations. And it's a lot of information, by the way, when you get really good at listening to your intuition. There's a lot of information that can come to us. And I have to learn how to play in that arena, because I can pick up on a lot of information that other people don't pick up on yet. It's not that they're not capable of it, but if we can have a lot of information coming to us, but I think that's better because we can sit back and say, okay, I see this, is feeling this, I'm feeling this, I'm seeing this, I'm hearing this. And we can kind of decide how to navigate through our life based on the information that's coming to us. Also, if it comes to, let's say, this job or this job, okay, we could write it all down, the pros and cons list, like I said in the beginning of this, or we can feel our way through it and say, what feels right? What feels right? And sometimes it's that thing that you wouldn't think would feel right. Sometimes it's the lower paying job. Why does this one feel right to me? But this one makes 10 grand more a year. Okay, we can talk ourselves out of things, but when we make the wrong turn, universe is going to keep trying to course correct us back to the next step that is going to lead us to our ultimate manifestation. Mike Dooley calls this the GPS. So we put the GPS in our phone or wherever it is, and we hit go and we set course to go to that particular manifestation, we might take some left turns, some wrong turns, whatever, but the universe is always going to recalibrate and guide us back on track. So even there's really no wrong decisions. It's just we kind of went off track for a minute, and the universe is going to guide us back on track if we keep our ultimate goal in mind. But when it comes to trusting people, we have senses. People call it instinct a lot. We have instinct and nudges and feelings. And I've had these when nobody has had these about certain people. And this was what's been a little bit challenging on my particular personal journey, because I've gotten these heads up about people in my life. And I would tell someone, oh my gosh, this person would look at me like I'm crazy. And then they'd flounce off and go do the thing. And then the thing would happen. And they'd be like, how did you know that? I'm like, it's like, I did not see that coming. I did not know that was a thing. That happened recently where I was in a particular kind of big group type situation, and somebody came in, and all of a sudden I got the intuition this person wasn't who they said they are. I knew it. I knew it. I even said it to my husband. I said, this person is not who they say they are. And he, who's not involved with the people, he just kind of looked at me like, yeah, okay. 2 weeks later, we discover that person was an imposter. They were not who they said they were. They did not have the degree in the things that they said they did. And guess what? Other people were making excuses for him. Oh, well, I'm like, I sense that energy. That is not integrity I want to be around. So I chose not to be that person's friend anymore. Friend, it's not like we were close, but like on social media and stuff. Hold on. Other people chose to, and that's fine with them. But this is how we learn to trust ourselves. I have learned to trust myself so implicitly, trust my instincts, trust my intuition, trust my God self, trust my emotion, trust my feelings, trust my experiences, trust my wisdom, trust guidance from God, trust signs. I've learned to trust myself so implicitly that I trust others for the majority. Because we started out this talk talking about we don't trust others and we want them to change. We don't have any control there, y'all. We have no control over others. We only have control over self. Okay. So some people are really damn good at being wolves in sheep's clothing. I've run across many of them in my life. Let me tell you, there's some that blew people's minds that they never would have guessed that this person was who they said they were or who they ended up being. I don't trust that anymore. The exterior means nothing to me. The soft voice, all those things, that means nothing to me anymore. What I trust is the way it feels. And this is what I'm hoping that you're going to cultivate on your healing journey, that you're going to really learn to trust yourself because you already know everything you need to know. You just need to tap into it. And here's one more thing I want to share. Girlfriend, boyfriend, you don't need to make any decisions until you damn well want to. So if you have someone pushing at you to make a decision, making a decision, you don't have to until you feel right and comfortable with it, because you may not trust yourself yet. They may trust themselves. Okay. They may make that decision quickly, but if you need to piece and part it out until you can feel sound in that decision, you are actually learning to trust yourself. And here's another thing that's going to sound counterintuitive to that or counterproductive to that. When you get that little nudge that this is okay, to me, it's a feeling of expansiveness. I'll feel like this kind of an expansive feeling in my chest and my heart center. When I get that feeling, because it'll come pretty quickly, you'll know yes or no. When I get that, I know that it's a heck yes. But if I don't get that, then that helps me to pause. But start to trust yourself by when you get that moment of it's okay. Don't allow your mind to come in and to talk you out of things. If you feel that for just a second, because they don't last long, first thing you can do is say, okay, I felt that. And I'm going to go meditate on this. I'm going to get very quiet, or I'm going to go for a walk or go for a drive. And I'm going to let it come in again and see if I get another yes or I get a no. But when you feel that, start acting on those yeses, because you'll start to trust, that still small voice, that energy of expansiveness. you will start to trust the way these things feel in your body. Okay. You can learn the hard way by continually saying no and staying small and saying suck, and then standing over there on the sideline going, I wish I would have. I wish I would have done that. You can learn to teach yourself to feel those nudges and trust those nudges and to act on those nudges. All right, you guys. Wow, that was crazy. Right when I finished that last word, I was going to close up. The timer went to 1 hour, like 10000. So I'm going to close up on this live stream for today. I hope you guys got so much from it. I also wanted to let you know that I crafted what I'm calling a revolutionary self-love quiz. I took several other people's self-love quizzes online, and the results were kind of odd. I was like, I can't have that. I want to make a self-love quiz so that people can really gauge where they're at on the self-love journey, because I call myself the self-love mastery coach, right? And our level of self-love is how willing we are to show up in the world as an empowered individual and to set and maintain healthy boundaries, which helps us with toxic low vibe relationships, but also to navigate through those, but it also helps us to not attract those type of people into our life that we haven't met yet. So this self-love quiz, I did like what I call a beta testing, where I had a lot of people take it, people that I know, people that I intuitively know where they're at on their self-love. They all came back right where I thought they would. I said, answer where you are right now, not where you wish you would be. Answer where you are right now, not where you were 5 months ago, right now. And let's see where you're at. And each person I said, do you think this was accurate for you? And all of them said, yes, absolutely. So I would love if you, or I'm going to invite you to jump over to my website, kristenbrown.org. And it is just scroll slightly down on the home page because it's one of the blocks that I have on my page. Click on that. You can sign up, get the self-love quiz, take it and see what your results are. It's really fun. I actually took it myself, and you would think that I would be the top number because their ranges. I think the first one's mastery is like 40 to 30. I think that's what it was. I wasn't a 40. I was like a 38, but I wasn't a 40. And I thought, isn't that interesting? But it was cool. It was fun to take it because I'm like, I get that. Because there's still a few places. So I call myself the recovering people pleaser. There's still a few places in my life that, there's a pause. Also, I'm going to invite you to jump over to Amazon. It's actually on all major book selling sites, actually. So you can get it anywhere. But you can jump over. Amazon's the easiest. You can jump over to Amazon and grab my book, The Recovering People Pleaser, a spiritual guide to reclaim your true worth, and attract the love you deserve. The work in this book is going to return you to yourself in a way that you didn't even think was possible. It's the work that I did myself to heal the foundation that I was showing up to relationships from, so that I could show up in a more empowered way, which is about trusting yourself. It's cultivating that inner trust. It's returning all that energy that you used to go out here trying to people please and make, jump through hoops for people and be everybody's best friend and save and rescue everybody and always say yes and, light yourself on fire to keep everybody else warm. It takes all that fractured energy and it returns it back to you. And guess what? You don't become a lesser version of yourself. You become a more expanded, powerful, and brilliant version of who you are. A lot of times people think if they heal themselves, they're going to become selfish, and the opposite of true. You just know your worth like you never have before, which helps you being an even better conduit of love and light in the world. So take the self-love quiz. If you're interested, buy my book, The Recovering People Pleaser. And there was one more thing I was going to share. Oh, as always, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, I would super love if you guys gave me a thumbs up. That helps the YouTube algorithms to grab my video, and leave me a comment. I love your comments. I comment on everything. I read all your comments as long as they show up. Sometimes they don't show up. It's really weird. But when I'm in the back channel of the studio, I'll see a comment. I'm like, that is weird. That was not emailed to me and did not show up on my phone. So for the most part, I get your comments and I respond to each and every one of them. And also, what I really like to invite you guys to do is, if you have any questions about this video or any of the other videos that I make, to be sure to ask your question in the comment section. Just make sure it's clear and succinct. and I will respond to your specific question in the Dear KB playlist that I have here, where people ask me specific questions and I will answer them specially directed to you. If I need more information, I'll probably comment back and have you clarify something. But for the most part, people have been excellent about asking their questions in a clear and succinct way so that I can respond. So I just want to say thank you, everybody, for being here again. Everybody who passed through on this live and who is going to listen to it on the replay. I know somebody out there really needs to hear this because you're struggling with trusting yourself. And I know that you can reclaim your personal power. I 100% believe in you. It's time to believe in yourself. All right. Much love, everybody. Peace. And live stream.